Oh, it is my pleasure to introduce to you my rock star client. I'm so excited to share with you Kimberley Stevens, and she is literally a rock star. Now, what I love about rock star and what Kimberly and I talked about behind the scenes as Kimberly was upgrading her nervous system and her capacity to be visible in front of 15,000 people was the ability to cultivate the vibrational match of being a rock, being rock solid, being really grounded, being really steadfast and steady and unwavering and solid. And the star part of rock star is the remembrance that we're all made of stardust, that we're all infinite potential, vibrating and pulsating and radiating the light that we're made of. We're all that all the time. And what happens when we become a rock star, which happens first energetically, and then for Kimberly, it happened in real life. What happens when we become a rock star is that we embrace our solidity, our steadfastness, our groundedness, our security in who we are, and we allow ourselves to flow the infinite stream of light at the same time. And Kimberly had the experience of doing the inner work and then having the outer experience to match it. So will you share what happened for you?
Yes. Yes, I was shown a radio competition to have the opportunity to sing on stage with Nickelback, which is one of my favorite bands ever. And they were the first band I ever saw as a kid when I was 9 years old. And I saved the concert ticket stub actually. And so I entered this contest thinking, yeah, sure, why not? Let's see what happened. And as soon as I entered it, I started to visualize and imagine myself on stage and with the guidance of Deborah as well. And I went through multiple rounds and ended up winning the whole competition. And I got to sing on stage with Nickelback in front of 13,000 people. And I did it with excitement and with confidence. And I kept expecting myself to feel like I was going to throw up, but I didn't. I felt great. And it was just gold proof that all the work that I've been doing with Deborah has been just completely life changing, that I could do this, that I was able to do this and do it with so much ease and fun.
And, the ability to do the stuff with ease and fun requires that we move through the stuff that doesn't feel easy and that doesn't feel fun. So are you
Yes.
willing to share what are some of the things that came up for you that were like, oh my God, this is really hard. This is really not fun, that you had to integrate in order to be neutral to it?
Oh, 100%. Being visible in general is something that we've been working on a lot, of just allowing my voice to be seen and heard. It's been a huge mountain that I've been climbing, and feel like I've really been doing well at it, of just making myself be seen and heard in so many ways, in life, in friendships, in relationships, in my business, and then now in front of the stage of 13,000 people. And yeah, working through that has not been easy, but was doable. And yeah, so many things that I've had to overcome and sit with and just be present with all of the emotions.
So I'd love for you to say more about what are some of the scary things that you have overcome, that you have been sitting with, some of the scary stuff. Like, let's just shine a light of consciousness on it. Because when we shine a light of consciousness, when we talk about it, when we say, yeah, this thing used to scare me, it suddenly shrinks and it just becomes this tiny little anthill that we can step over instead of this huge mountain. So I'd love for you to share more of what some of the muck was that you got into, some of the beliefs and the feelings that you were willing to befriend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A big one for me has been feeling like I'm too much, feeling like I'm too loud, feeling like I'm annoying, feeling like, what are people going to think of me if I just walk up on stage with Nickelback and grab the mic and ask if I can play their drums, and thinking, oh God, people are going to think like, who is this girl? Go sit down, shut up, be quiet. Yeah, that was a big one. Um,
When you're telling that, do you feel any of that in your system when you're like, ugh,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
I
feel the
can feel
residue?
like it's like critters crawling. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, and it's so important. Thank you so much. Like, just for naming it, because we all feel this at every stage of business. We feel this, whether you're going from 0 to 5K a month, or 5 to 10K a month, or 10 to 100K a month. It doesn't matter what the amount of money is. The internal stuff
is where the work is. The money is like a barrette in your hair. You can
Yes.
change it. Yeah. So thanks for naming it. Okay. So there was a lot of like, I'm too much, which we all feel. Uh-huh. And
Mhm.
what else? Anything else?
Oh, and then also, yeah, feeling like I'm not enough, then feeling like, well, I didn't try hard enough. This wasn't hard enough. So why should I be awarded this? I didn't have to work very hard at it. And oh, I just have had this voice my whole life. And which isn't even true, but it's what I was telling myself, what my ego was telling me.
It's so funny, right? Like we can argue that I'm not good enough, which is one kind of limitation, and at the same time, I'm too much, which is another kind of limitation. And, if we're caught in that inner conflict of I'm not enough, I'm too much, I'm not enough, I'm too much, of course, you're just going to sit on your hands, you're going to sit on your voice, right? Because
Yeah.
like you can't win. That's a
Yeah.
lose-lose. Hmm.
Yep. And I was literally having this conversation with myself moments before going on the stage. I was sitting in my seat. I had my head in my hands, and I had this two-way conversation going. And then I literally could see myself just choose like, actually, I'm right where I need to be. I'm right on the exact road where I need to be, which led me right up onto the road, onto the stage in the next song. And it was just like, okay, quiet. Thanks for being here. Quiet down. But I'm actually heading right onto the stage right now. And I did. And I
Oh,
rocked it.
so beautiful. I just have truth bumps right now listening to you. And, that's really a secret that you have so beautifully embraced of this work, which is I can hear this voice and I can hear this voice and I can say, thank you so much for your opinion. And I can feel the feels and I can be in the turmoil and I can keep walking my path. I don't have to get sucked into the reaction of either one.
Yeah.
So
Huge.
huge. So you had this fantastic experience where so many people saw you on stage and saw you on the Jumbotron on stage. And you also had a really big visibility, huge transformation in your business. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, when I first signed up to work with you, Deborah, I didn't even have a business, actually. I was burnt out and working as a nurse and yeah, feeling like I wanted more. And I ended up signing up to work with you and launched this business. And now in the past month, I have completely given up my job, my position as working as a nurse. And now I've brought all of that knowledge and excitement and for everything else that is a part of me into my business. And I mean, now I'm helping people every single day and doing what I absolutely love to do. And yeah, it literally feels like a dream.
And you've replaced your nursing income or 2x or 3x or 4x your nursing income.
Yeah. Yes, I just had my first $12,500 day.
So good. So good.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, just and so believable because now it's actually happening.
Yeah, it's so funny, right? Like the conscious mind is like, this is unbelievable. The conscious mind is like, this is unbelievable. The conscious mind is like, I refuse to believe this. And then the subconscious mind is like, dude, I just did it.
Hmm.
Right? Which part don't you believe? Like, there's the bank statement.
Yeah.
There's my sold out class. There's a video of me on stage. Yeah, it's so great.
Yes.
And so your identity had to shift.
Majorly.
What was your old identity and what's your new one? Or what did you
Mhm.
release? I want to be careful when I say what was your old one and what's your new one, because the eternal you is eternal and unchanging. So when I'm talking about the old you and the new you, I'm talking about the ego's version of you on the earth plane, right? Because the eternal you has always been a rock star.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Yeah, I've broken free from the part of me that wanted me to stay really small and in a box, and you can only make this much money, and you have to work this much, you have to work really, really hard, and money doesn't grow on trees, so you got to just grind it out, and the harder the work you work, the more money you get, into now where making money and doing what I love is fun and easy. I've had that sticky note on my mirror since we started working together, and it's truly becoming a reality. And creating a weekly work schedule that I enjoy and that's fun and that's achievable, and not a never-ending to-do list that continually just goes on and on and on and on, into a part where I can feel like I have, you know, I've always done enough no matter what I've done, being enough, having enough, doing enough, and then feeling accomplished and able to do what I want to do in a daily dose, and not just setting up this never ending list of just like busy, stress, working hard and having more tension, into having lightness and ease and fun every day.
It's so good, right? Who wants to work harder? Like, what is the point of going into business for yourself and then working for a boss that you can't stand, who
Yep.
just like whips you and beats you and says, you're not doing enough and you screwed this up and you screwed that up. Like, who wants to work for that? I don't know. I don't.
Mm-mm.
And I know that you don't. And,
Mm-mm.
when we catch ourselves being that kind of boss, we're like, no, that's not the company culture here.
Yeah. Which I still catch myself sometimes too, but I really feel like I have the tools now to be able to be with that part. And the more that I can detach in a sense from that identity or that reality, the more that I'm just welcoming more ease into my life.
Yeah, it's so good. I know you had a lot of resistance to working with me, to spending on yourself, to doing the inner work. You had been on this path of, well, I got this yoga certification and I got this nursing certification and like I got all these certifications and I'm really smart and I don't like, why do I have to invest in this thing? And a lot of people have that same feeling. So can you speak about like what surprised you about this work? Like, what were you not expecting that you're like, oh my God, this is so much more than I ever imagined?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Um, man, I mean, I'm over halfway through my program now, and I was thinking the other day that like, man, even now, the amount of money that I invested, I have received back in my just who I am now. I would pay that again. Um, yeah, and that money is as flow, like the more that if you put out and invest in yourself, which I did not want to do. I absolutely was so hesitant, but I could feel my body pulling me, being like, this is what you have to do. And it was so freaking scary. But if I can invest in myself, then I'm already receiving and giving, and I'm in this flow state now of still putting out and investing in myself, but then I receive it back in twofold every single time. And I mean, that's been surprising to me. I knew that it was going to be, I mean, a part of me didn't know if it was going to be successful or not joining it. I was like, oh, I don't know. What if I've thrown all this money away? But I have just completely transformed my life. I don't know where I would be without having done this and just stayed in that same burnt out, stressed job that I was in. I've now achieved already what I truly didn't think was possible in the beginning. I didn't even have a business, like I said, when I launched it. I would have, if you would have told me that by July 10th, I would have been working for myself and 2 times, 3 timesing my nursing wage, I would have laughed and said, well, maybe, plant a wish, but I did. And now through this work, I'm here. Like,
Mhm.
it's just, yeah,
Were you
real.
surprised by how connected your money story is with your nervous system? Did you have any idea how deep it is?
No, I had no idea. I never had looked at money in that sense at all. I had never looked at money as energy. I had looked at it as if it was this thing that only rich snobs had, and that it wasn't something that was for me necessarily. I always wish that you had this much money, but I didn't realize really also how many blocks that I had in resistance into having money and receiving money and being wealthy. I wouldn't have ever thought. I thought, yeah, no, I just don't have the money because I just haven't earned it yet. But it was really because I wasn't allowing myself to have the money. There's a lot of fear behind having that money that I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. And what has had to shift? What have you chosen to shift internally to 3x your income, to quit your job, to be having an absolute blast teaching yoga and breath work and meditation and stress reduction and, being on the forefront of yoga festivals and on big stages, like you're just creating bigger and bigger stages for yourself. What have you deliberately had to choose to let go of inside of you or to
Mm,
integrate inside of you?
hmm I have had to, I mean, show up consistently for myself is such a huge thing of like putting in the work, showing like doing my own practices, doing my own nervous system regulation every single day in order to shift away from those attachments to those things that were holding me back into this, I don't want to call it a new state because I know it's divine state of me, but into this new version, or this refreshed and rewired version that's literally just launching like a rocket. Yeah, a lot. I mean, I had to shift so many beliefs about, well, about money majorly, about stress and about having to be stressed, about having to be busy, relationships with my family, with my friends, um, with my romantic relationship. So many parts of me that have just kind of been ever moving parts that I feel like we've maybe shook up a bit and allow them to free move instead of them just being like crunched and locked, kind of like a little bit of a moving puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great visual metaphor, because when we get locked, we can't move, right? If we're locked into, like, like tongue and groove, like we literally can't move. And if we loosen it a little bit, like now we can put the pieces together in a different way. And you're seeing that it touches everything: your relationship, your business, your family, your friends, your income,
Mhm.
your job, everything, everything.
Yeah, and it's like when it's all vibrating, right? Which makes sense. If we're in vibration, in the right vibration, then we can vibrate into what is the best fit at that time.
Yeah. And the vibration's always changing.
Yeah, I love that.
So I know that there are people who are watching you and they're like, well, damn, I want that. So what would you say to people who are where you were, and it wasn't that long ago? I mean, you're a beautiful representative of, it doesn't have to take a long time. We've got one of these cultural beliefs, which is it has to take a really long time, and I don't have time. And
Mhm.
and I think we started working together November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, so 8 months ago. And you've tripled your income. You've massively expanded your visibility. You've created a business. You've got multiple offerings. You're booking way out into the future. You're selling out your classes, like massive, massive shifts in terms of your income, in terms of your confidence, in terms of your visibility, in terms of having some of the building blocks of a business with a mailing list and offers and payment systems and a website. And like all of these things are just growing in 8 months. And it didn't take a long time. So what would you say to people who are like, oh, I don't have time, or I don't know how, right? Because you were like, I don't have time. I'm working a full-time job and I hate it and it's sucking my soul dry and I don't know what to do, but I feel like I have to. So you showed up, I don't have time. You showed
Mhm.
up, I don't have the money, but you figured it out. You showed up, I don't know how. And clearly all of those were smoke screens.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was one of my favorite lines. I don't have time, was my favorite line. Or yeah, I don't have the money. I can't afford that. Which at the time, I mean, I did not have that money sitting in my bank account, but I became extremely, extremely resourceful, and it's sure paid off. Thank goodness, thank goddess that I did. But what I would say to people is, I was at this crossroad as well too, of being in a really hard place, and making this decision to work with Deborah was really hard. Staying in the life that I was in was also really hard, but I got to choose my hard. And I absolutely chose the best hard, or what felt the best, or what was scary, but like what ended up being the best for me. I mean, of course, change is uncomfortable, and making a commitment to yourself and investing in yourself is uncomfortable, because so many of us are used to never investing a dollar in ourselves and taking care of everybody else, but not ourselves. And for me to actually just take that leap, literally now a quantum leap, and to step into this new way of investing in myself, filling up my cup first, and then now seeing how I can overflow into every single person around me. I mean, pretty cool that you get to choose that option. So if, doing this and investing the money and the time and the effort into it seems really hard, of course it is, but the life that you're living in right now likely is really hard too. And so you can stay on that path, which isn't probably going to really change, or you can invest your time into this, and your money and yourself and your divinity into this, and choose this hard path, which is going to more than likely go upwards. It sure did for me. So yeah.
I love that. Choose your hard. I mean, it's true. It's totally about the perspective, because
Mhm.
it always feels hard when it's unfamiliar. Even if
Yeah.
it's not particularly hard, it feels hard because the brain is like, oh, I don't know what that is. And so like there's an automatic kind of reticence to go towards that thing that is unfamiliar. And that's what the hard is. It's not necessarily that it's challenging, it's unfamiliar. So your nervous system feels challenged by the unfamiliarity of it. And then the minute you jump in, you're like, oh, this feels great. Right?
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
taking a cold shower.
Yeah. Which in the same sense, I mean, when it's also about like living presently, you're getting your head thinking like, oh, how would I possibly do this? And how would I launch a business? And I knew nothing about running a business. I had never had any experience, nothing. And it's like now things just fall into place as they go. And you've made it so doable in the program of like one step at a time, where it wasn't so overwhelming, and, you know, to look at like, well, how am I going to run a platform and have clients and whatever else? But it's like one thing at a time, and staying in that present moment. Yes, the decision is hard and the unfamiliarity, but you make it that you can stay in that present and then chunk it down and make it very achievable.
Yeah, and that's really the secret, is to staying present and one step at a time, because each step reveals a new perspective. Just like grains of sand move through an hourglass one grain at a time, just like we eat food one bite at a time, we drink tea one sip at a time, there's a rhythm to how the body metabolizes nourishment, whether it's, you know, a new business coaching strategy, or it's a new energetic quality about yourself. You know, there's a certain rhythm. And so the Anatomy of Money system really is a very integrative process. And I love that about it, that when we get really expanded, that's an invitation. We know that contraction is coming. And so we ground proactively. We lie down on the grass, we take naps, we take baths, we get massages, we make love, we do things that are really embodied, because that integrates this great expansiveness, and really understanding and integrating and embodying this cycle of how all things are born and come to their greatness and then dissolve into what's next. I think is such a helpful way of being in the creative cycle, because it gets us out of, oh, I'm just going to create, which is just expand, expand, expand. That's when the burnout happens. If all we associate creativity with is what we're putting out into the world, that's not the full cycle, right? And what you just talked about is learning to be a great receiver. And that's an integral part of the cycle. You did just mention something about the business building, and I want to clarify for people who are listening. So Kimberly's in a year-long program that's called Anatomy of Money Quantum Leap, which is a business building, spiritual growth container. And within that, we do the work of the Anatomy of Money 40 days to rewrite your money story. So we do all those processes inside of that bigger container for people who are interested in growing and scaling businesses, or maybe they have a business and they're already making great money, but they want to have more ease. They want to have more fun. They don't want to hustle so much. They want the same amount of income, but less hustle. Or maybe they want the same amount of income working half the amount of time, which is effectively doubling your income and having double free time. So I just want to make sure to clarify that for those of you who are listening and you're considering, oh, I think I want to do that 40 days to rewrite your money story. 40 days to rewrite your money story is the inner workings, the inner nervous system stuff that we've been talking about, the capacity to receive more, the ability to revolutionize your relationship with money, reclaim your confidence, creativity, and time, the ability to experience more fun and flow and freedom in your business, the ability to really trust yourself without second guessing or sabotaging or shaming yourself, right? All of these old conditionings that Kimberly spoke of in the beginning of, I'm too much, I'm not enough, I'm too loud, nobody can see me, like all of this stuff, we got to clear it. We got to integrate it at the nervous system level. That's what the 40 days to rewrite your money story course is about. So for those of you who are considering that, know that it is the nervous system work around money. And if you're interested in building your business and jumping into a deeper dive, which Kimberly is talking about, then you can reach out to me and we can have a conversation about that. So I just wanted to clarify that. Anything else you want to share about the anatomy of money and the relationship that you're building now between your body, your nervous system, your mind, your soul, and money?
Oh, I could go on and on about all of this work. It's just been so amazing. And just, yeah, how we do one thing's how we do everything. Like it's all the same. It's all one. Money is so connected to your inner work. And I mean, this is what I'm finding in my life now that I've done the inner work. I mean, I've golfed 4 times this year and I've beat everybody that I'm golfing with. It's ridiculous. Like and people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, nervous system work, to be honest. And I'm breathing while I'm swinging. Like, it's just crazy. I'm golfing better. My relationships are just up leveling. I just sung on stage in front of 13,000 people. Like, it's just everything. It all comes down to the basis. And this is why I'm so passionate about this work now too. And I'm now sharing it with others myself, because it's just mind blowing about how connected we all are. And by just really going to the basis of that, our inner self, that's where it transpires into everything in our outer world, literally everything.
I
Love
love
it.
that. I'm breathing while I'm swinging.
Yeah, like I told somebody the other day, they're like, how are you doing that? I'm like, breathing.
Right.
Now I'm doing life. I'm breathing.
Right. And it's so simple. And it's such a challenge for so many people, right? Our ability, our capacity, our willingness to breathe fully and deeply. Each breath is the universe arriving fully and inhabiting you. And you can trade places. You can stay. The universe can stay. And all the itty bitty shitty committee, all the you're not good enough, all the you don't know what you're doing, that can go out on the exhale or not. You can say, thank you for your opinion. Like there's such a neutrality and a calm. And what a beautiful story that is showing up in something that's brand new to you, golfing. And yet when you fully drop into you're a natural. And so with business, right? You were like, I don't know how to do this. And when you made space for you to fully drop into you're a natural. And that's a kind of, I don't golf, but the golf metaphor that arises for me that we're talking about is that you are the hole in one. You are, and I totally have like truth bumps as I'm saying that. You are both the HOLE, you're the hollowness, you're the emptiness that the divine fills. And I mean, look at the bliss on your face. You're like, yeah, it feels so freaking awesome to acknowledge that. You're also the whole, WHOLE in one. You're the whole in one being. I'm the whole in one being. Every one of you watching is also a whole in one. There's no part of you lacking. And so that's really what our invitation is, what my invitation is, what Kimberly's invitation is. What everybody who does this work recognizes is that you recognize your wholeness, and you recognize that you're here to radiate that and to share that and to uplift others who are in your environment. It's so healing, so liberating. Thanks for sharing that hole in one. You didn't say hole in one, you said golf, and my mind went to hole in one. And that just feels like that's the rock star, right? The hole in one. There's the cup that's in the earth, and there's this thing that was airborne that lands in it. And that's what we are. We're the cup, and we land in the cup.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for rocking your business and rocking the world with your voice.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Anything else you want to add before we wrap?
I feel complete.
Beautiful. You are complete. Have a blessed day, y'all.